Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Zach, and right now we are finally in a Discord clubhouse. I haven't actually been in a live one of these for about 2 weeks. We're finally here though, and I have cut off half the screen because I don't want you all looking at my Discord, because Discord is actually where I do my gaming stuff too, so secret stuff there. But yeah, we're actually here, Trevor's here, I've muted everything, but we're going to listen to it now. And I'm not going to be here for the entire thing because I don't have enough camera battery. I've been recording hours already today, so let's jump into it.
He's like buying everything.
So this is part of being in the live version, I guess, is that you don't get to edit things out, or at least I could edit things out, and I might do. But yeah, when I'm watching this on VOD, obviously I can skip through things, but things might have started. Let's hope.
I don't know why it's not working on my computer, but we will run with the fun.
And that's Reese, of course.
So, okay. Just to confirm, you guys can hear me now, right? I don't need to push to talk on my phone.
Yes, sir.
Rad. All right. Welcome, everybody. I'm glad we got that sorted. I will deal with my technical difficulties later. Big welcome to all of you. Thanks, everyone, for being here. Happy birthday, Kyle, for yesterday, or maybe the day before.
Much appreciated. Thank you.
You are very welcome. Very welcome. And welcome, Trevor. Thank you for joining us, my friend. It is good to have you online. Now, just so people are aware, I think the channel might be full again. I just saw a message. I don't know why that keeps happening. I guess we'll have to figure it out, or maybe it's I need to open this up for it to be a larger audience. So maybe we'll give that a shot on the next one more than anything. But Trevor is here for the next hour with us, guys. So if you have any Trevor-specific questions, earlier is probably the better time to
Okay,
get that
so
out.
I'm going to probably say for
am I
now
right in
then.
assuming that you're recording this, Kyle, or someone will put this?
I'm recording, but they can't hear me. But yeah, I'll be here for Trevor's thing, and then we might react to Reese once it's once it's uploaded later on. So
if anyone is in here and isn't aware of it too, we do have that voice chat discussion group now, which you can find just in the general server area. So if you have any questions or anything you want to drop in there as well, feel free, and we'll get them as well. So yeah, let's get started, guys. If anyone wants to kick off, if anyone's got a question for Trevor, have at it. Otherwise, we could recap the last month as well.
Trevor, when showroom?
Straight to the when questions.
good
I guess.
question.
I'm not going to put a date on it. We're working on it. It's still the what you guys saw that we put out. That's all concept images of the showroom. So it's coming along, but it's still fairly early. Though hopefully we can get it out sooner rather than later. Again, the non-specific answer. I know that's not what people are excited for, but yes, we're working on it. It's an active development.
Hey, Trevor.
So my guess on that is maybe this year.
I've got a question like after our interview, and it's actually a pretty decent one. So when we had the demo app of Vivi, the one that Dave, you and Dan Crovers were showing, they had like a really, really janky version of the DeLorean. Obviously not the nicer version that we have now. And in that app, we had kind of like the plinths and pedestals, and they look kind of like, like plain white blocks. So the question is, when we do get stuff for our showroom, I don't know if you can say or not, but can we expect the kind of showroom blocks and plinths to be those kind of like plain looking white ones, or would we get something a bit more different, kind of like how the original DeLorean wasn't the one that was released? It was a nicer looking version.
Yeah, so I think what you're seeing in that original release, and I'm not entirely familiar with what the asset is, but we often do like test assets to like when we're showing off those like kind of concepts, as you can imagine. So that was probably a test asset and probably a test plinth asset. Our plan is to we're trying to achieve a specific and higher quality art style across the new showroom, the new gallery that we're building. And that will extend to those kinds of plinths and kind of decorative showroom materials, I guess you could call it. So yeah, I would expect the new one to look better than a plain white engineer art-esque box like you probably saw in the original one.
Oh, just on that point of the showroom. So I'm we've seen some really cool pictures where people like phase out of their showroom, and I think like when you do game development, I think it's called like a collider, where you have like a actual physical properties on a wall, but we don't have that on the showroom, so you can literally walk through your showroom wall and end up like floating in space, which does allow you to take some really cool pictures. But is that, I guess that counts more of a bug than a feature. Is that going to get like removed in the new showroom, like having that, I guess, more realism?
If you're wondering, by the way, that's Kay's mic not being having a lot of static and background noise. Nothing against Kay or anything, but that's not me.
Should fix that, though. I do know people like using that exterior space to place their assets, so we're going to have to find our hope is that we'll find a solution for that, so people have larger spaces to place stuff in. It's worth noting, I know we talked about like we're doing this showroom. I'm affectionately calling it version 2 of the showroom, but just like everything when we're building this app, it's an iterative process. This isn't by no means the last version of this. We're going to continue to build and expand upon the idea of the showroom, hopefully create something a little bit more extensible in the future so people can have bigger, newer, more compelling spaces to put stuff in the future. But this is the first step towards that. So don't expect what we release to be the final version of this. There's going to be a lot of stuff going forward. And as always, we're listening to everybody's feedback about what they want to do with their showrooms, what they want to do with the whole app and with their NFTs. And we're like trying to incorporate that in a way that makes sense and is allows us to deliver that value as quickly in the most exciting and compelling way possible.
Awesome. I did have just to keep it on the showroom, I did have a question with one of our main purposes for the showroom is to show off our collectibles. And a big part of showing off our collectibles is showing off our mint numbers that we have. Is it safe to say that we will be able to have a tag under our collectibles that will show our mint number?
It's something that I think we can... We'll talk about ways of incorporating that in the future. Right now, our focus is on improving the gallery asset, the environment itself. But I think that's something that that has a lot of value to people. So we're definitely interested in looking for something like that, doing something like that.
So sticking to the mint number, like low mints is all the rage right now, and would it be possible to like give sub 100 mints like a special kind of glow or something like that in the future?
I don't know how we're going to handle different colorways. I don't know if we would do it around mint numbers. I mean, it's an interesting idea. Actually, this is the first I've heard of it, so I've heard that idea. So I'll talk with the team about it and we see what they think.
All right, this one's from Danny One. Back to the showroom is, will we be able to maybe archive the kind of V1 showrooms for the nostalgia? And a lot of people put a lot of time, of course, into their V1 showroom. So just look maybe on that end, will we be able to maybe keep the V1 showrooms?
So part of the plan of the new showroom is that it's going to have the same dimensions as the V1 showroom. So that way, if people have placed things in a specific way using the shape of the showroom, that shouldn't be affected. Obviously, when we bring in the asset, and we'll have to tweak it, but we're going to try to get it right. And then to the second part for nostalgia purposes, you guys, it looks like crap. We can do such a better job. I personally, I don't want to, because I'm not a fan of just having like, if we can offer something better, just having the jank in there isn't a good look in my opinion. But it's I don't know. That's an interesting question. I'll talk to but my guess is probably not. But I'll talk to Dan and the team about it and how they feel about that.
I've got a question from Brock Trevor. It's just with unboxing blind boxes, for example. I know that stuff isn't released yet, but would there be any, I guess, possibility of having kind of effects that can be applied to your collectibles? And he's described it as how Team Fortress 2 effects work. I'm not familiar with Team Fortress 2, so if you are, then I guess that would make sense.
I'm actually not familiar with the TF2 effects either. Sorry.
Hey Trevor, I'd have a question going back to the showroom. So for some of us, we love the showrooms, of course, but placing items is sometimes a little bit time intensive. So can we expect there to be some standard placement or standard sizing of collectibles in the version 2 of the showroom?
We are actively working on new tools to help the placement of showroom assets. So working on transform, rotation, scale tools to be a little bit easier to use and have more consistent controls throughout the app. We're developing that in parallel with the showroom, so hopefully that stuff should be coming quite soon. With that, we're also trying to create a more consistent UI and visual language through the asset placement tools, so it's a little bit clearer what you're trying to do and what each tool is doing. That stuff is still in development now, so hopefully it'll be coming out sometime fairly soon. I'm not going to put a date on it, but it's something we are actively developing. It's actually the first thing I know we talked about having the intern come on. We have that game design intern. It's one of the things that she is working on right now. It's the main thing she's working on.
I've got a question for you, actually.
Jeez.
I was wondering if there was any plan to allow people to move along the y-axis in the showroom.
So do like a full free camera kind of thing.
Yeah.
I wish Discord would normalize audio in this stuff.
Right now, the tool that we're coming up with isn't for that. We're still kind of using that first person perspective camera and kind of driving it by like almost like like if you are familiar with Unity, it has basically a character walk kind of. There's like a first person player kind of tool that we're basically using to drive the movement. It's since the walking in the showroom is fairly simple. I think Y movement and doing like free camera movement is something we could introduce in the future. It's certainly harder to figure out how to do like full XYZ motion, especially on mobile. So we'd have to explore different solutions for that. But it's an interesting idea, and I certainly see the value of it when it comes to building big, complicated like pieces with multiple NFTs.
Can I just say that I freaking love Trevor?
Another question. When I'm putting similar NFTs in the showroom, sometimes like I try to make sure that they're the same size. Is there a way that there could be the ability to kind of scale the NFTs to be similar? Like, I don't know if that makes sense, but like drop all your NFTs and then just say like, okay, I want them to all be the exact same size of this NFT, and then they can all resize to be roughly scaled.
That's a really interesting idea. I will talk to I'll talk to the team about that.
Yeah, it's like kind of like snapping, essentially, like on
Pardon
Canva,
me.
you can kind of like snap everything to one size.
Yeah, I think snapping tools like that are certainly helpful for a number of different reasons. The other thing, all the collectibles are made to a certain size originally, and I think I personally would like to see something to like kind of reset things to the original size, which might be original size of the asset, which might be helpful for some of these use cases.
I'd have a question concerning the y-axis too. So in AR mode, as far as I know, we are not able to move collectibles along that axis yet. Is that something that is going to be implemented in the next update?
I'm assuming you mean snapping to like moving along y-axis or like
exactly.
up and down?
Up and down.
Interesting. I'll look into that. I don't have an answer for that one right now, but it's similar. It's like it's an interesting idea, and we can look for a solution. Hopefully, a lot of the tools for asset placement that we're doing in the gallery can also be used in the AR viewer. So hopefully, all these things can kind of be solved with a single, more comprehensive solution. And again, these things are iterative. So it's like, just because we put it out now, this is like whatever version is just the version 1 of that feature. We will take feedback and continually improve the feature because we want it to be as easy to use as possible, since it is one of the main ways you engage with the app.
Thanks.
What's the most challenging thing that you're dealing with right now?
Most challenging? NFTs that we're trying to release on a specific deadline, making sure we can get everything, basically making sure we can get everything ready and done in time in order to have it ready for that release date. That's definitely the hardest part.
That tells me that there's a lot going on.
Regarding
hell
the
of a
look
lot.
of the NFTs, I noticed when I zoom in on some of the shinier ones, you can see it looks like they're having like a photo shoot. Are you guys working on like having them reflect their environment that they're in?
I was actually just talking about this with Dan about how we need reflection probes, which is a tool that can help us with that. So yes, this is something I am familiar with and something I am trying to we can try to figure out a solution for. It is a lighting related solution, which means we're going to have to balance the fidelity of the lighting against achieving a high level performance on as many devices as possible. But it is definitely something that we are looking at.
Hashtag ray tracing. But yeah, next question I have real quick is you may have answered this already, but I was kind of fumbling with some OBS settings. When are we, or is there a timeline for the unboxing? Or are we going to see some kind of ceremony in the future? Or is there a maybe a timeline you can maybe lay out?
I can't lay out a timeline for that now.
Fair. Okay. Well then.
For the Z-axis, Minecraft does, like, for the creative mode, there's like a button that you can enable, like an up and down button. That might be helpful for mobile. They do that for mobile. You could just download and see. Question that got asked earlier about effects. So Team Fortress 2, they have base assets, and then you have a bunch of different effects that you can, so it adds like another layer of rarity. It'd be cool if there was a blind box method to kind of get an effect that you could then apply to, like, say, a Todd or something like that. And so then that would apply either like a shimmer or a sparkle or even a fire effect or something, like an effect that could be added to it to make it like almost a 101 or very, very high rarity. And then they could be unboxed. So you'd have like a super rare drop of an effect that you could apply to any asset.
I think that's a really interesting idea. Ultimately, blind boxes is more than just like the front end, the ceremony that you see. There's always, we have to building a system in which we can like mint blind packs and all that. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be figured out for us to deliver blind boxes. I think these are all really cool ideas. And of course, we're always listening to them. So it's like if you're just keep shooting me stuff like this, I mean, it's still pretty early. It's still early on developing these kinds of features. It's something we're definitely excited about doing. I like the idea, and it's something that we can for sure get into.
Yeah, I'm happy to give you a fire hose of ideas if you wish.
Well, don't all rush me all at once, but I should.
I was just gonna say, what's your top like 3 blind box or ceremonies, if you will, that's your favorite from other games or things like that?
Well, the first one is going to be Legends of Runeterra because I worked on it. Other ones that do a good job. I actually do like what Top Shot does for their opening ceremony. I think they do a good job with it. And then in games, other ones that I really like, actually the one in what's the other? Gods Unchained was pretty solid. Ultimately, it's one of those assets that a lot of people put a lot of time into. So pretty much any studio that's delivering it within their world tends to do put a lot of effort into it and build really exciting ones. So it's kind of hard for me to say which one's really good. Ultimately, the goal is to achieve a really cool IP resonance and a really cool sense of celebration that feels thematically tied into the universe of that experience. So I think it's hard to say which one's good. There's kind of a established design language for those things that we are going to want to achieve.
Hey, Trevor. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Gail.
No, go ahead.
Oh, thank you. So I had a question coming in from Meme Face, and It's concerning the Batman Who Laughs. So unlike other collectibles, if you go to the store, the collectible says sold out, but it also says that there's still 2,900 collectibles available. So is this just a bug, or what exactly is going on there?
Reese, is this
Is
one
that-
that you have more information?
I was going to say
on?
that's not going to be Trevor's
Sorry, guys.
question.
Do you want to ask the question again? I've just been responding to
It
people in the voice
was
chat.
about they were wondering if the Batman Who Laughs, is it sold out, or it says there's 2,000 collectibles still available. Do we know what the wondering if that's like a bug or if that's intentional, or like what's the state of that collectible?
Yeah, no, I think it's a bug. I think they're still available. I was originally thinking that maybe they had paused sales on it so that we had some of those available for Comic-Con. But when I asked Dan yesterday, he seemed surprised by it. So I'm waiting on a response. It might just be something that Michael is doing in the back end. And they've just paused the sale for a moment while they're upgrading the engine, maybe. I don't know the technical back end there, but I'll ping Dan about it now while we're talking about it. And we'll see if we get a response.
Can we get a hint on maybe on what the special collectible might be for the Comic-Con event?
Hell no.
I think that, no. But
Hell
I
no.
think there will be
I love it.
multiple. I don't think I think there'll be, it's Comic-Con, right? And it's San Diego
Okay.
Comic-Con. So it's the biggest pop culture event in the world. We're obviously going to make quite a lot of fanfare about it and build up to it as a bit of an event that we are taking part in. So I think there'll be more than one.
Well, now there's just two titles for me to
that is
choose from.
and where it comes from and all those things. We'll all just have to wait and see together.
Because I was going to make the title about Trevor talking about VV showrooms, but maybe not. Maybe not.
So
We'll
speaking
see.
of Comic-Con, either Reese or Trevor, have you guys done any like analytics to like estimate how many more users that you can expect from the exposure to Comic-Con?
I haven't personally. Trevor, have you ever attended a Comic-Con? Is it? I mean, they're not on my side of the world ordinarily. Has anyone been to one of these events? Like, what numbers do you typically see at a rough estimate?
I think the question is how many people are we expecting to bring in? That is a excellent question for a marketing team, which is not my area. As far as Comic-Con itself, have I been to a Comic-Con? No, I've not. So I'm actually really excited by the fact that to go straight to being like effectively, for lack of a better word, an exhibitor in a sense is pretty cool. I have been to E3 a number of times, so that's about the closest I've been to this kind of event. Comic-Con is definitely a rowdier crowd than the E3 crowd, so that'll be interesting.
I would think so. I'm very curious to see how it plays out because it's a whole online event this time around, right? As far as I'm aware, I don't think anything's changed. So whether the capacity is as big, I would say that it probably opens access to even more people than the physical event, because now anyone can tune in from anywhere around the world, and I think we're all much more used to being part of digital and virtual events now with everything that's happened in the last 12 or 18 months. So I wouldn't be surprised to see this be have the most attendees out of any sort of Comic-Con event, and obviously we are very well positioned to have a digital product in a digital space, in a digital conference. Anyone who sees our name can just go to their app store and download the VV app and participate and hopefully try to snag some of these exclusive collectibles. So no, I haven't run any metrics as to how many people we think we might bring in. That might, I think that's a hard thing to measure, to be honest, because we, one, don't know how many people will attend. Two, just truly can't anticipate how big an event
My
this will
guess
be for
is-
us until we get closer to it.
My guess is I don't know how many there are going to be attending, but my guess is it could be tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, but I think tens of thousands is more likely.
To boost to our numbers and just our awareness in general, right? That's Comic-Con is the core audience that we are sort of trying to access this. So.
Just to clarify on Comic-Con, Reese, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think, is it not an online event this year? So how would that work for Ecomi? Like, how would they, I guess, promote themselves if it's an online event? That's assuming it is an online event.
Yeah, it is an online event. I think David mentioned that in the video the other day. So to be honest, I don't actually know the finer details of how the event will run and our place in it. I think the idea is that we will have some sort of prominence, but I actually can't give you more details on that just yet. So I imagine it's almost the same as this, right? And everyone can tune in, similar to how we've been doing these digital conferences, the NFT summits, all that kind of thing. And there would be a schedule of events throughout the day, presumably, or you can, I think we're really going to start seeing a move into that sort of metaverse style exhibiting, where exhibitors might have their own place in a Comic-Con metaverse, and you can go and check out what they have available and all that kind of thing. So I'm not up to speed on the finer details just yet, but I'd say we'll release more of that information the closer we get to Comic-Con.
On that end, as far as metaverse, is there any updates maybe on Trevor's side as well? Working on
that end, as far as metaverse, is there anything
like that?
Maybe on Trevor's side as well?
Feedback from you, BTC.
Yeah, I muted him.
Dave, you want to take that?
Yeah. So what I'll say is that VVverse VVverse is going to unfold over like a bunch of different patches and releases that we put into it. I like to think of actually this gallery 2, like the version 2 of the gallery that we're putting out is almost like the first step in that direction, and the first of many steps in that direction. So hopefully some of like the kind of directions that we're thinking of going in with it will reveal themselves as we release more content related to gallery, related to metaverse, and some of that stuff will become more apparent. I want to kind of say that to also kind of set the expectation that don't expect like one day if one day the VVverse isn't going to exist and the next day you're going to turn on the app and all of a sudden it's all there. We're going to do this we're going to want to take this in like an iterative process and grow it kind of in a more organic way. And also that's a way to do it in a way where, as opposed to doing a sudden grand reveal and then receiving all the backlash on what's working and not working at once, we'll be able to take it a step at a time, understand what we need to do, be able to respond to feedback and make improvements from there. So again, this is the kind of thing I like to think of, we're building all this stuff with the community and with taking their feedback in order to make sure that we're giving them, like, delivering the most value we can, doing building the thing that they're most excited about, what you guys are most excited about. So that would be kind of how I would describe the general rollout of the VVverse, and kind of how I would expect to see it unfold.
Hey, Riz. So I believe I have a question that's more oriented towards you. So concerning Comic-Con, I believe that the Comic-Con that will be held in July is going to be online, but then later in November, there will be a special edition Comic-Con that's held, I believe, in person.
Nice.
So is VV only going to be partnering with the online edition, or may there also be a partnership with the in real life edition of Comic-Con?
Good question.
That's going to be in November.
Great question. At the moment, to my knowledge, we're partnering with the online one. We'll be at the online event. But obviously, Comic-Con isn't an annual event. And it's not like that audience that we are trying to reach just disappears after one of these things. So, we're really taking VV on the road now, and we'll continue to attend these kind of events. As to whether we'll be at the live special edition later in the year, that really depends on the state of the world. Right now, sounds like the US is getting close to opening up. I know Canada's looking to open up by September, those kind of things. But Australia and New Zealand in particular, I don't think have any real plans to open their borders anytime soon. So it'll really depend on the boys' capacity to get out of the country and whether that's a practical thing.
Sure.
But I think we'll bring enough eyes through the virtual event anyway, and then we'll continue to attend these events as we move forward.
I'm in Los Angeles, so if you just want to send me down there with a sign or something.
Just a sandwich board.
That'll look professional.
It can just say showroom V1 at the bottom, so people know how different V2 is going to be.
I mean, in all seriousness, though, I think Reese does raise a good point here. This is the VV team. The Akomi team is very international. It's we're a remote team. We have people working on this all over the world, which is really exciting. But it also means we these kinds of things do, like anything that's a specific in-person event. Well, it's something I think we're all super excited to participate in. There are obviously logistical challenges that can get in the way of that, like if they won't let him off that continent way down under there. Sorry, Reese. But it is something that we're all like pretty often talking about. So it's like if we're again, just like anything else, if we're not talking about it, we're not moving for it. That doesn't mean we aren't making plans or thinking about it or making moves to be a part of it. It's just there might be a lot of other extenuating circumstances that we can or won't speak to with relation to that. But it's definitely something like I'm super excited about, and it's definitely the kind of place I think we would want to be.
So going back to the VBverse, I know you guys have been grinding, getting the licenses and stuff for like 4 years or so. Can you speak upon how long the VBverse has been in production? Like when did you guys actually start programming and stuff like that?
Not that long. It's, I mean, I think, again, I would describe it as we're on, if you call our current version of like the gallery, I kind of refer to it as V1 of the gallery. We're working on V2 of the gallery, as well as starting to work on some other features that help us move towards a more connected world here. More like more of that metaverse feel that people are wanted for. It's certainly earlier in development. I mean, and it's two wildly different things. Ultimately, the team that acquires licenses is not the same people that are building the metaverse or building the tech stack that supports the metaverse. So it's kind of an apples to oranges comparison, but still, it's a little earlier days on that.
Going with the I'm sorry, was you talking, Reese?
No. I was just going to give a bit of more of a chronological sequence as to the acquisition of licenses and those things. That's been from day one. Once we kind of decided to make the move into this industry, and then the development. So we had to actually obviously conceptualize the idea and start to approach these licenses and things to make it happen. And it definitely took us longer than anticipated in the early days. I think before we did our first ever fundraise, we thought we'd have 3 or 5 licenses to announce, but practically that just didn't happen. Tokidoki came on straight away because they have a pretty personal relationship with David, but it took a lot longer to really bring a lot more of the licenses around. So it wasn't really until those engines started chugging that development on the mobile apps started, and then most recently is the development on the VVverse and the next iteration of the gallery showrooms and things like that. So yeah, I was really just going to provide a little insight there, but go ahead with your question.
Okay, appreciate it, man. So with the metaverse, going forward, just trying to gauge how huge this thing is gonna be. So I'm trying to curb my excitement a little bit with it. But with the are there plans, if we are attacking the metaverse, are there plans to move forward onto PC consoles, kind of like Roblox is on everything? The phone, you can seamlessly go from your phone, play with someone on a PC who's playing with someone on a console. Is that where we're headed? I know it's not soon, but is that the vision that you guys are looking for?
Consoles, I'm not 100% on, but I personally haven't had that discussion. PC, definitely. That's the next move. As the web platform is under development now, and that just gives us a lot more power to kind of create and design the metaverse. From a technical standpoint, maybe Kay or Trevor, maybe you guys have much more knowledge on this. I mean, what is the transition between something that's available on mobile and PC to also being available on console? Is it do they run these days almost like a web browser platform, or is there extra?
Yeah, so I will say I think what you're describing is there like a platform agnostic future in the sense that VV can be on every platform and you can move freely between it is something I would be really excited for. And I think if we want to build this in truly the most scalable and accessible way possible, that's definitely the direction we want to run in. As a practical matter, building a game or building anything to get it onto a console, like consoles have a pretty strict certification process. So that's basically every time you're building a game, you basically first you have to get a dev kit from the from Microsoft or Sony or Nintendo, if Nintendo will even let you have one. Those things cost thousands of dollars, and then they basically give you a booklet with like 3,000 pages of all the rules you have to follow. And then you keep submitting stuff over and over and over to get feedback. And every single time they reject it until the 100th time when they finally let it pass. It's a very complicated process to get anything onto consoles. Is it the first place we want to go right now? Probably not. I think PC, it's still a much more proliferate platform. There's a lot more of them in the world than there are consoles. I think console is an interesting platform to be on, but there are a lot of challenges with it. So I wouldn't expect that specifically soon or anytime soon. But PC for sure is something that we're working on. And definitely we're always concerned with like high accessibility, high access, as much freedom for the player to kind of have stuff on whatever platform they want it on. For me, I think another platform that's quite interesting and I would like to see us move toward would be like specific like TV OS platforms, just like OTT solutions, kind of like that, where you can actually put it on smart TV and see stuff in like a beautiful large 4K display. I think that would be something exciting for us, and it allows us to do it without having to get on other consoles.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question too, because you see a technology growing on these smart TVs. That would cancel out the console. I think consoles in general are going to be canceled out anyway, and it's going to be going to streaming before long. So that's awesome, man.
And
I don't think consoles are going anywhere too soon. I think the delivery of content to consoles is changing, and I think one of the coolest things in games in general is kind of the rise of streaming and multi-game subscription services. But there's some cool. I mean, we're still figuring out how we want to get into that space, but definitely to borrow words from like how Sony and Microsoft speak, to like get into the living room is something that we're definitely thinking about.
Nice.
Nice. Oh, go ahead, Reese.
I was just going to say Brock made a good point in the voice chat discussion, and just a reminder, if anyone has questions they want to drop in there, go for it. But I think we all probably see a future where consoles do become obsolete because they're replaced by wearables and those kind of things too. So that might be our into the living room moment when wearable technology like AR glasses become much more accessible and user friendly as well. So just a little addition there. But go ahead. You had a question?
Oh, I was going to see if Orange Bag Lady or maybe Claire had a question.
Can I ask you a question real quick? Just since we were on the topic of the metaverse, when you think of the VVverse, what is it exactly that you're imagining? Because I feel like we all have different ideas, but I was just wondering what like you, Trevor, and Reese specifically are thinking about when we talk about VVverse.
Yeah. I'll go first, and then Trevor can probably come in with more factual information as to what it is. So I think the first iterations of the VVverse are really just expanding on your ability to customize your digital space. So whether that's, everyone then has their own, I'm sure you guys have seen that little render image that went up on our website a couple of days ago. So maybe everyone has their own showroom or their own digital space in the VVverse, and then you can teleport to each other's showrooms or things like that. The same sort of concept eventually as like a Roblox or something, where people might enter your showroom and you have your own mini games and stuff like that too. I guess that's my first sort of vision for the VVverse. It's really just opening up your capacity to customize your digital space and share that with other people. That would be my first iteration. From that point, I think it'll take us a little while to get there. So I guess we'll continue the dreams past that. But Trevor, is that sort of where your line of thinking goes? I mean, where does your vision extend on the VBverse?
Oh, for me, I think again, I'm thinking in terms of what's the kind of experience we want to deliver and like what are the outcomes we kind of want to achieve with it. I think creating that shared spaces, I think, is really exciting. Again, creating places where people can personalize their space and like create something really that's uniquely like that feels like it's their space and their world within this larger world, I think is really cool. I'm also really excited by creating a space that really feels like aspirational to be in the sense of like, and I'm not, and when I bring this up as an example, I'm not like describing it as bad because I actually think they're currently doing a really good job with it. But look at like Decentraland is something that is kind of that almost like shared space. But it does. I don't see the like a really wide appeal with it because I think the style of it is kind of cartoony and a little kitschy. And I'd like to do something we have with our assets. I think our assets are like the NFTs we're delivering at are a super very high quality bar, and I think that quality bar is going to soon take like even further leaps and bounds forward and become even better. And I think we can build a space to match that. And creating that will create something that I think is really cool and exciting for people to want to be in. As far as the specific activities and the like underlying platform and tech that powers it, that is something that we have to develop and figure out how we want to build it. But ultimately, it's about creating, for me, a space that really feels like aspirational and like someplace like it has to be a place where you want to spend time in. Just like whether or not you're an owner of content in it or not. Like I want to make something that's like exciting for people to want to visit, even if they're just like a tourist passing through in a sense. And again, this is like me describing what I think Brees and I both kind of described what we would like to see. This is no like promises of like this is what we're building or what have you. I just want to clarify that while we're discussing.
Understood. Thank you.
So this might be further down the line, but I know you guys have brought up renting NFTs and owning land. So I'm assuming you can make money off of the activities that goes on that land. Can you guys see somebody possibly making a part-time or full-time income in the VBverse from activities in the verse?
Yeah, I can personally. Yeah, there's been discussions of maybe you have just an absolute boss showroom and you charge a gem entry or something for people to come and check it out or to play your particular games or anything. As scary as it can seem sometimes, like I think we all agree that more and more of our lives are going to move into the digital space, and that will continue to open up new opportunities, whether they're financial or entertainment or whatever that happens to be. As a technology company and sort of at the forefront of this industry, we're really well positioned to be leaders in that space and design in these experiences. Now, as you said, they're down the line, when this isn't going to happen in 2 weeks' time. But yeah, we've talked about being able to rent your collectibles to other people. Maybe there's some digital photo shoots that take place with your DeLorean time machine, or maybe that's the new age rap video. I have no idea, but yeah, the opportunity to generate an income from this is definitely in the future. I think whether that is enough to survive full time, I'm not sure. Maybe that encourages people to spend too much time in the digital world. So we'll cross those bridges when we come to it. But we definitely envision a day that people can generate income using VV in its current capacity and from the VBverse. Yeah.
I'll say I believe it could happen. I think that Reese is saying that to make sure that, not just to cover themselves, and I understand you've got to be conservative, got to be careful, but I fully believe people are going to do a lot of stuff with that.
Like if the demand is there. So we have to build something that's compelling enough to make that demand happen. So, which takes time. Like ultimately what that basically asks is build the biggest, most compelling, most detailed version of like a metaverse out there, which inherently means probably the most expensive one and the most time consuming one to build. But that's I think that's how you get there, is by delivering something that's really like at the highest quality bar that we can and a really aspirational space.
Will we have avatars? And if so, would we be able to purchase clothing, shoes via collectibles to outfit our avatars?
What's
This-
yeah, go for it, Jeff.
I think avatars in terms of like characters that we can like effectively like that represent ourselves in the world. I was actually interestingly just talking about this with Dan the other day. It's something we're definitely interested in. We have to figure out what that looks like and what the style of that would be if we're going to do it. Certainly having accessories and like different things you can decorate your avatar with sounds exciting and quite frankly the most obvious and uncontrived way to monetize it, which is something that we have to think about as well. But yeah, it's definitely something that we've been thinking about. The goal is for me with a lot of this is like we have like a lot of collectibles from a lot of different IP, and and the nice thing about different IP is you want to match the look and the feel of the IP specifically, but that creates a lot of inconsistency between different collectibles that we have in the system. We want to, with the galleries in the larger universe, I think that's the kind of thing that Decentraland does, even though the style is fairly simplistic, it's consistent. And achieving that consistency is something that we're really like, that for me is really important. So hopefully extending that to the gallery space itself, as well as to the collectibles, or excuse me, to the, like if there were avatars in this world is something that we would be looking to do.
Can you hear me, guys?
Hey,
Yes.
Poor Man.
All right, how you doing? This is Poor Man Print, a YouTuber.
Hey, brother. Nice to meet you. Thanks for dropping by.
I want to say I appreciate everything y'all have done so far. I got a few questions. Omi the Clown asked this question: what is the total number of users on the app right now? And was there a deletion of accounts last month in the crackdown and duplications?
Yes. Yeah, I think there was in one of our most recent updates, and I think this one too. It will probably cut down on more sort of duplicate accounts, bots, emulators, that kind of thing. But no, there was definitely a crackdown on that. I don't know if they were directly deleted or just suspended for now, or what the punishment is there. But I guess that's on a case-by-case basis that Lucas and the support team will deal with. I think we're up to 300,000 accounts now, 300,000 users, something like that. I know that I saw that go out in the Ron English PR maybe. So yeah, I would say ballpark 300,000 would be the move, I think.
That's awesome, guys. So next question is, when will we see video function, and is there any way to get rid of the red lines when in the app after placing NFTs, like multiple NFTs in the vault?
Yeah, so the red lines, if they're still displaying, that is a bug. I think it is probably only affecting some devices, but might be best to, if that's affecting you or anyone else, just ping me a message or open a ticket, and we'll get the devs to look into it, because the red lines should disappear once you've placed your collectible. What was the other part of the question?
That was pretty much it. The video function. When will we be able to do the video function?
Yeah, that should be in the development pipeline soon. Trevor, is that something you manage as well, or is that more of a back-end dev thing?
That's more of a back-end dev. That's more tech.
Okay, cool. That's more a tech side. Yeah, I'll find out about that because that is a good question. Obviously, we want to be able to offer in-app recording rather than just the screen recording your phone. And it was definitely in the pipeline early, so it's probably back on the table now. I'll ping Dan, and hopefully we'll have an update for next week.
That sounds good. So my question is, I would like to hear more about the change Vivi's making with the Omi token, like its utility now.
Yep. So if you don't mind, you're going to be around for a little bit. I know we've only got Trevor for another 10 minutes. So if anyone has Trevor questions, we'll do that. And then if you're okay, we'll cover the Omi questions once he's gone.
All right, I got one question for Trevor, or actually both of y'all real quick. What is y'all's favorite beer? I had to ask.
I like how often we get this. Yeah. Man, I change my beer like every day. I don't have a particular. Get out of it, mate. All right, Foster's, it's not a thing. All right, let's just clear this up. Foster's is not
Just
an Australian
clarifying
beer.
for people, Foster's is like the Bud Light of Australia. as
Yeah.
far as I understand.
Yeah, it's not even though. It's like the Bud Light of the UK because that's the only place I've ever seen it served. Like it's not. No, it's not.
I can vouch for that.
It's one of those. It's Australian branded beer. It's like Outback Steakhouse. It doesn't exist in Australia. It's just an
100%.
American brand.
It's 100%. Yeah, like yeah, American branding.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's like all these Australian things. People think because there's a kangaroo on the side of it, it's come from Australia. So it's a marketing ploy. So definitely not Foster's can answer that question. Yeah, I change beers depending on the day. I'm more of a red wine person, to be honest with you. Quite refined like that, you know.
Classy man,
Ooh,
classy.
red wine and rich mahogany smell in your house. And
Absolutely,
many leather-bound
absolutely.
books.
Many leather-bound books. Many.
If you want the swill of Australia, you go for VB.
Yeah, the Green Demon, mate. That's how you do it.
I'm a Melbourne boy, so I know all about it.
Nice.
I did have a
it's
few
actually not bad.
questions for you, Rise.
I have
Yeah,
a
mate.
question.
Yep.
Star Trek. Everyone's asking about it in the chat. What's
Hmm.
the go there?
Trevor? I don't think we can actually
Nothing yet?
release information. No, nothing yet. No, it's same as most
Yeah.
things. Until we're
Yeah.
announcing them,
Can we ask
we,
Kurt some
we
questions,
can't put
please?
them out. But Trevor,
Have you
have
been
you
On
been
the horizon,
developing
is the
that?
license there
Oh,
for it?
yeah.
Or? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the Star Trek licensor is CBS. So we have
CBS
Star Trek
Paramount.
Discovery, Star Trek Picard, and something else. There's three of them, I guess.
It's Picard, Discovery, Next
New
Generation.
stuff, yeah.
Next
Okay.
Generation. There you go.
And on Comic Con, they do have them here in Australia. I was at a Melbourne one about 8 years ago, and I actually met the man himself, Patrick Stewart. Got me photo done
Nice.
and everything. So yeah.
Yeah,
I
so on
did
the
have one
horizon.
other question.
I've
slightly
got
more
one
for
for
Trevor.
Trevor before he goes as well. Sorry.
Perfect. Yeah,
One more as well. One more. Sorry.
that's all right.
The one thing I wanted to ask was the AR for PCs like HoloLens and Oculus and stuff like that. Are you guys looking at that?
Trevor?
Right now, we're going to start with let's just get it onto PC, and then we'll figure out how we want to do AR functionality using PC. HoloLens is a weird platform for us to go after right now because it's so niche. And for me, again, it's like, let's see how we can make this as accessible as possible to as many people so we can get as many people in. So to have that vision, but then run in the direction of literally the most expensive piece of hardware on the fucking market.
Yeah,
That's
the
right.
dev kits are what, $8,000 or something?
Yeah, $8,000, and then the consumer version, and I'm using heavy air quotes around consumer, is $3,500. But you can get a
Yeah.
discount, all 50%, all the way down to $1,700.
You can rent them for $100 a month, I think.
Yeah, the point is, it's not
Yeah.
for a while on,
No,
on
no.
that platform. But it's something we want to have that functionality as many places as possible.
Available to go across, yeah.
And a platform agnostic future is ultimately what we want to move for. So just because if some feature doesn't exist on one platform, doesn't mean if you're on that platform, you won't have access to it, because hopefully you'll be able to access every things through multiple platforms and move things across. Hardware is a delivery system for the software, for the VVverse, for all this stuff. That's like kind of how I view it.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, if you get it onto consoles, I'll send you a slab of VB. Xbox.
You'll be happy about it, trust me.
I had a question.
I want to go in order that people so heard C. Russell Griffiths, and then who was the other person? I'm sorry, I missed the other person that spoke up.
That's me over here with the diamond hands.
Yeah, it's Claire. Maybe you haven't guessed, but I'm quite a big fan. But it's just really, when using the app, have you got plans to develop it? Because you are kind of limited. Maybe it's the amount I use it that I notice in how you can use it. For example, if the sun goes down, you can't get even a normal surface to kind of start the AR mode up. But also, I found out now that you don't actually need internet all the time. If you load the character into AR, you can take it to places where there isn't. But it's that difficulty of getting the surface. It's like when I was out of a kayak, I managed to just about do it on the paddle and nearly fell in, you know.
I did see those photos. They were great.
Interesting. I think what you're running to is a specific AR tech challenge. So I don't want to go to. We have like we're using existing AR tech to make this possible. And so as that develops, because again, all the tech is getting better over time, those features will make their way into it. Specific to your question, because you brought up lighting, as everybody knows, one of my favorite things to rage about on Twitter. We are working right now on functionality that again allows you to adjust the position of the sun as well as the sun, so you can align your shadows, which will make me very happy when you guys post stuff, as well as set different initial lighting conditions, so that like if it's a sunny day, you can have sunny lighting with sharper shadows. If it's cloudy, you can have cloudy, like more diffuse lighting to match that, sunset lighting, nighttime lighting. Those are things that should hopefully come with it. And of course, we'll take feedback to expand upon that. Again, everything is just the version 1 of that feature. We can continue to make things better over time.
Thank you.
I had a wee Trevor question, if I can squeeze it in before he has to go. I think we all know that. Oh, sorry. I think we all know that Vivi has a lot of applications for the future. But would you guys ever consider moving into the educational space and maybe creating something like David Attenborough's like most favorite top 100 animals, and or Neil deGrasse Tyson's
that's cool.
Something out of
more
a science book
utilities
or something like that.
More utilities.
Sorry,
Joe.
I was gonna say, it's like, for me, it's certainly an interesting idea. It's definitely not my area of expertise. But I mean, it's something like if there's a demand for it, it's something I think we would definitely be like. It's a new business vertical. It's something. I mean, take it away.
Yeah. As you said, if there was demand for it and a place for it, then it's definitely something we could explore. But I guess one of the fundamental value drivers of our NFTs comes from the licensing. And that's how we create that scarcity and that kind of thing based on that established sort of thing. You can't really. No one owns the licensing to a cheetah or a lion or something like that. So you know what I mean? Like as a collectible item, and this is just me, ad-libbing at the moment, but my impression would be that as a collectible item, nobody owns the license to content like that. So it's the kind of thing that could be diluted or created on any platform, as opposed to giving up the ability to create collectability surrounding those items. Now, look, that might, maybe who knows? Here's an idea, right? Maybe like Nat Geo decide they want to digitize all of their previous editions, right? Their magazines, their Nat Geo magazines, or something like that. There's definitely scope for something like that to become a collectible ebook of sorts, or there's that kind of functionality there, but yeah, in terms of licensing, like live animals and things like that, or creating collectibles around those, I don't know that the crossover potential there is strong enough as a vertical.
Yeah. And for Trevor, sorry.
I was gonna say, Reese, and before I had to go, I know TFYB had a question. I just want to make sure I get to it before I jump off.
Yeah. Take them, man.
Thanks so much, Trevor. I do appreciate you remembering me. I did have like 2 real quick questions. I want to run by you real quick. You don't have to explain in detail. I just wanted to know for the actual, I know you guys are doing a lot of development on the marketplace at this moment in regards to bidding. I know that on the Android, I have heard that all that has been updated to do edition numbers and all that good jazz, ending soonest. I wanted to know, would you guys plan on adding like an escalation clause?
That's
I
not
do
a
real
Trevor
estate,
thing,
so I
is
deal
it?
with these a lot. similar to like what eBay does?
I mean, it's a good question.
To have like a max bid per item or like a notification. I know you guys are swamped. Thank you, God, for all you guys do for us. We really appreciate you guys. Get some sleep one day, please. But do you guys see in the near future that you guys might have a notification that will say, hey, you have a bid ending in 2 minutes?
Yeah, that's a racing, I think.
I think that's probably more of a Reese or a like tech team question, unfortunately. But it's definitely an interesting idea. As people have been throwing stuff out here that I think are cool ideas, I'm noting them down so we can bring them back to the team.
Nice. Yeah, to answer your question, absolutely. The notifications you've probably noticed aren't running at the moment, or not in the capacity they were. I think when we were doing all the refactors, they were just eating up too much back end resources. So yeah, that whole mechanism will come into play as we move forward for sure. Let you know when bids are ending, that kind of thing. I like the idea of a max bid too. I mean, I know right now we've already implemented that you can't outbid yourself. And we have talked about, maybe limiting the bids you can make to say 100% of the current bid or something like that. Obviously that's kind of frustrating. If something's priced at $5, you can only then bid up to $10 and you have to be back in there. That's where the notifications would come into play. It's just a balancing game at the moment. And as you guys can probably imagine, the last 6 months, we've thoroughly tested the system and what is working, what isn't working. Even when we rolled out the updates to the market last week for the sorting options, obviously that wasn't the best move because then it just lists all the auctions before the buy now, all those things. So, it's always an iteration and always a work in progress. And if that is going to make the user experience better and the app run more seamlessly, then yeah, absolutely. We'll look to implement those.
Got around. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Sorry.
All right. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, mate. Thanks for dropping by. Cool. All right, guys. Well, that's all the Trevor questions. So we've probably got another hour if that works. Now, there's a few questions that have come in that I've just collected in the.
So I'm not going to be here. I'm not going to be here for the full hour next hour, but I want to hear if he answers Pullman Printing's question, and then I'm going to dip because it's 2:00 in the morning, and I'm going to have to upload this, and that's going to take forever.
That already, but I'll ask and answer your question anyway. So you wanted to know that once ETH2 is completely up and running, will we stay on layer 2 for immutable or look to transition to layer 1? So just to bring people up to speed on that, the short answer is no. Layer 2 gives you scaling on layer 1, but once the merge happens from ETH1 to ETH2, so when it changes from proof of work to proof of stake, you don't then just go back to layer 1. I think the whole user experience lives at layer 2. And that will continue to be the case once all of Ethereum transitions to ETH 2.0. I know it's getting a bit confusing with all the 2s and 1s and all of that. But that is the general sentiment there. Once you're on layer 2, you stay on layer 2, and all other apps and dApps in the ecosystem will upgrade to layer 2 and stay at that point once it transitions to the new network. So hopefully that covers that question. I've just got 2 more here that I'll quickly whip through as well. Vladimir, what did you ask? You mentioned preparing for Comic-Con and having a store inventory for the next few drops. So basically asking, will we increase the mint numbers to ensure that we have inventory? I think this has been covered before. The commons and uncommons will have higher edition numbers. Just in general, they have higher edition numbers. Whether that happens for every drop between now and Comic-Con, I don't think so. It doesn't make sense to just up the edition numbers on every release. That will still be made on a case-by-case basis. But the purchasing limits will stay in place. Same deal depending on the release that's happening during the week, just to try and maintain some inventory in the store. Because if we're attending this huge event in 6 weeks, 7 weeks time, same deal. We don't want to end up in the same situation we've been in for the last few weeks, where new users come to the store and then cannot actually purchase anything or experience the app. So that's definitely in our consciousness for the next little bit. And then IDK 101, regarding the announcement to give the OMI token more utility by allowing users to buy and sell OMI directly, do we think this will make VV less user-friendly to the mainstream? Short answer again, no. So the way this works, we will run, essentially it's running two parallel systems. One, you will transact in and out of gems, and the other you'll transact in and out of OMI. So it still remains very open to the mainstream audience because they can transact in gems. It's very familiar. If anything, I think it pushes people into the OMI rabbit hole. Because if they can see that in the market, you can now list things for gems or OMI, you're going to want to, I think most people's inclination will make them wonder what that is. And once you realize the value propositions of OMI and whether holding that,
No.
Personally, I think that's a really.
I thought I got disconnected for a second then.
So no, I don't think it will cut out the mainstream at all. We are obviously very aware of that and trying to maintain that balance as best as possible, whilst also providing people ways to extract value from the platform and in the way that they choose to. So hopefully that answers that question. Let's open the floor, guys. Who's got the question? What do we got? I'll whip through those two.
And with that, we finish it on our end. I may end up reacting to the second half tomorrow, but it is 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm actually still uploading, whilst we're talking, I'm uploading 2 videos. This is my third one. I got 2 more or 3 more after this to edit and upload. So there's a lot of videos coming up. If you enjoyed this, please make sure to subscribe, all that good stuff, like this video. Thank you, of course, to the Ukomi team for doing this as frequently as they do. I'm super appreciative of it. I don't really know many companies that do this on the scale that it is, so amazing to see. But thank you for watching. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video. Take it easy, everyone.